All right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are live once again,
Yeah.
coming with some free SEO advice for you guys. Yeah, so if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. We've got some questions here ready to go that people have sent beforehand. But yeah, if you have any questions about your website or just something that's been bothering you for a while, yeah, let us know and we'll
Preferably SEO related or,
yeah.
digital marketing related.
SEO is always good. Backlinks are our specialty, but we still have a pretty good idea of a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. We've
Um,
dove off into all sorts of deep water with random things over the years. So, even if we don't know the answer, occasionally we'll just look it up right here alongside you guys and see how much of it we can solve. So,
all right, Nick, talk to him for a little bit longer. I just need to set something up.
sure. Yeah. We missed last week, so hopefully we can get some good questions in today to make up for that COVID scare, but no actual issues. So we're all happy and healthy, just playing things safe, but yeah, back in full force today.
New hotkeys, check
Yeah,
it out.
very nice.
Pretty
I like
cool.
that. What do you guys think? Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got here. Let's go ahead and
Yeah, I think we got some questions either emailed to us or messaged to us, and we'll just start there, I guess.
all right. Will Google frown upon if the words are shortened, such as instead of them or groupin instead of grouping? Will it affect SEO negatively? Mainly want to add a bit of flair to some heading and text.
Yeah, so this is interesting because it has to do with how an algorithm would be able to read things like slang, which I would say check your SERPs that you're going after first and see if that kind of flair is in the articles that are ranking. Because, if we look or consider certain websites like maybe TMZ or very popular sites that are pop culture is the main thing that comes to mind, we'll see them speaking in a sort of slang or writing in a sort of slang. It's probably not going to have an extreme effect on your ability to rank if your content is optimized properly. But I would say if everything within the SERPs that you're trying to target are speaking with very proper English, then I would try and be as proper or grammatically correct as I could.
Yeah, just to add to that, I would say, keep that kind of stuff off of the most important spots like your URL, your title tag, probably even your H1. But other than that, if you want to throw in a little slang every now and then in like your H2s or H3s, I would say it's probably okay, but it will have a small effect, or it can have a small effect. It's every change you make to your keywords when you're putting them on the page, no matter what their position is, you're modifying the keyword a little bit. And so, just to take it a little bit further, when you're actually doing your on-page SEO and you're optimizing for a certain keyword, you actually want to switch it up. So if your keyword was, like best towels, you could, best towels with an S is slightly different from best towel, or like the best towel on the market or whatever. These like slight variations, even if it's just a letter or whatever, they're actually slightly different keywords, and Google does relate them, especially if it knows that they're grammatically the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it probably will have a small effect, but I wouldn't worry about it too much if it's in your like H2s and stuff like that.
Yeah, unless sentence after sentence is including this and it's an entire like rant piece written, in somebody's type of slang, then yeah, it's probably not going to have a huge effect on ranking, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, and one more thing, like if you if you want to do the slang, so let's say you're you wanted to use group in, you said instead of grouping. So, make sure that you have the keyword out somewhere else on the page that's spelled normally. So like don't have it as the only time the keyword is appearing on the page with like a slang misspelling in it, right? Just get it somewhere else that's actually spelled correctly, grammatically correct.
Yeah, I think that about solves it probably.
Cool. Excuse me. Let's see. Hey, Noman. Good to see you too, man.
Hello. Oh, hello, Satish.
Yeah, we're safe. We had a little bit of a COVID scare, but
yeah, it was more just
this guy.
extreme allergies due to cedar fever, and so I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, no issues.
All right, let's see what's next.
It's a big one.
All right. I have multiple pages on my site, such as Web Design Company in Mumbai, Web Development Company in Mumbai, and WordPress Development Company in Mumbai. I want to add FAQs to these pages regarding those services. Can I use the same FAQs for all 3 pages as the service offered? Is it generally same or similar? I mean, what FAQs can I have for Web Design Company in Mumbai that will be drastically different for Web Development Company in Mumbai? So the basis of your question is, can you have the same content on 2 pages, at least partially the same content on 2 pages? I'll let you kind of take this first.
So in local, I've actually seen that you can have the same content on a lot of different pages and still manage to rank. I think Mumbai would probably be a large metro that's going to be more competitive. And so maybe that'd be, ill-advised. Having said that, I think it's always nice to be able to say, well, I'd rather just transfer it. But how much extra effort is it going to take to just make that content unique to each specific SERP, and then help that content help you rank in Google? For affiliate marketing, I would, advise not doing that. Although FAQs, I guess, could be cross-boundarial. It's still best practice. Just go ahead and make the effort, take the extra little time, and do what you know is right. Give the crawlers unique information that's pertinent to each individual page, because that's what you want to create there.
Yeah, I agree. And just to give you guys a little bit of an example, you can actually check out our own site. So for example, if we go to our, say, guest post, so if you scroll down to the bottom, for each of our different products, we've got like, I don't know, we've probably got like 10 or 15 different product pages. If you scroll down to the bottom, we actually have an FAQ below each one, and some of the points in these FAQs are actually the same things. We actually came across the same problem that you're having right now, or the same issue or whatever. And yeah, like Nick said, what I did with this stuff is I had it rewritten slightly, right? So that it wasn't the exact same thing. So you can take it and just change up the wording a little bit. It really does not take long, especially if you only have like 3 pages, like you said. I mean, you're talking about like, it's probably like what, 10 pages or 10 minutes of work or something.
Yeah, it can't be that much.
Yeah, and so, and while you're, the FAQ is considered part of the content on your page as well. So, this is going to affect stuff like your keyword density and all that stuff. So, your FAQ is actually another like very strong section that you can utilize to like actually get in, up your keyword count for, stuff that you were unable to get in other parts of your page. So, for example, you can see on our product page, generally on a product page, you want to keep things kind of simple. And so the FAQ is kind of just like this. It's a lot more just like hard wall of text, right? So yeah, it's just kind of your chance to really get in some keywords and variations and all that stuff. So yeah, I would go ahead and rewrite it. But you don't have to see it as a chore. You can see it as like something that's actually going to help you to further optimize for those pages.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. So yeah, I would say go ahead and do it. Now, just in relation to this, also make sure that you're checking whether Web Design Company in Mumbai and Web Development Company in Mumbai are actual individual SERPs too, because they seem pretty similar, but you have to manually check. Different question.
All right, let's see what we got next. All right. On the lookout for sites that accept guest posts, what metrics should one keep in mind to elevate such sites that allow guest posts and offer a backlink?
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
Oh, evaluate. I can't read apparently.
Happens. Yeah, so in relation to talking about metrics, I'm not huge on sticking to metrics. Can you pull the question back up real quick?
Yeah, here you go.
Just because that's sort of like topsy-turvy. I guess DR, if you want to talk about metrics that I guess are pretty standard that you can rely on decently, I'd say DR is probably one that's up there. But well, and also if we're talking about guest posts, so you're probably not going to get access to the site beforehand. So I would say for guest posts, DR, especially more than DA or something that's more easily manipulated. Majestic Trust Flow Citation Flow can be good sometimes, but also more easily manipulated. DR seems to be the most trustworthy one. I still don't like to rely just on metrics. In this case, you'd have to trust that your vendor knows what they're doing, but a good standard, I would say, is DR, personally.
Yeah, so let's say you are just doing them yourself. Yeah. I'm just using, if you come to our guest post page and you scroll down, we've got this little slider or whatever this is called above our pricing tables. This goes over some of the metrics that we require the sites to have. So TF and CF a bare minimum of 5, 100 or more referring domains. And we check the site appearance. We check to make sure, it wasn't used as a PBN or it's not currently a PBN. Check to make sure it's indexed. We don't like to see any kind of sponsored posts or write for us kind of stuff, anything like that on the site. And then, like our higher level ones, for example, we're also checking. Well, actually, if they fail any of these, even if they fail just one, they slide down to our kind of our second tier. But, so some more things we check for, just traffic history, the history of the domain, SSL, of course, the backlink profiles, and like how good the backlink profile is going to be, or that you want it to be, is going to be up to you. But in general, just take a look at the site and does it look healthy? If you pop it into Ahrefs and you look at, just the keywords and traffic graph, you don't want it to be taking like a hard dive or something. But yeah, when you look in the backlink profile, you don't want to see too much spam. Every site is going to accumulate some spam. As an example, one of our sites is being spammed right now. It's just, it's something that happens. And Google's pretty good at telling what spam is and to disregard it at this point in time. But you just want to make sure their entire backlink profile isn't horrible. You want to see a bunch of like relevant stuff in there. Obviously, you don't want to see a ton of PBNs or something. Yeah, just look for a kind of natural backlink profile, of course, would be better than not natural. Yeah, so if you ever need kind of a guideline for our guest posts, you can look here. But just to simplify it a bit, like Nick said, DR, or if you're in Ahrefs, I pretty much
I was
stick with Ahrefs, but
Yeah, I was also kind of considering this just from the perspective of, when I see guest posts, I'm thinking of somebody buying the links. And it honestly sounds like this guy might be talking about even doing
yeah,
manual
yeah,
outreach.
he's
And
talking
so,
about, I think, going after them himself.
sure. So if you're doing that, then personally, I don't worry myself too much with DR. Now, if you're going to do maybe a blanket bulk metrics run in Ahrefs with 100 sites that you checked out, and then you want to deduce it even further by doing that, then maybe by DR or RD. But then ultimately, you're going to want to go into the backlinks for that particular domain and just make sure that it's a legitimate business. Does this make sense? Do the anchors look natural for this particular website? If yes is the answer, even to a good degree, then it's a viable option for a guest post. They don't have to be completely clean, but the cleaner they are, the better a link it's going to be for you.
Yeah, just to kind of summarize what I would go by if I was, doing the outreach myself, not buying from a vendor. Um, the first thing I'd probably look at even before DR is probably the RD, referring domains of the domain. Then I'd look at the DR. Then I would look at the traffic. And I'm not as crazy about traffic as some people are. What I mainly want to see is that the traffic for the amount of referring domains that the domain has, or the DR that the domain has, makes sense, right? So if the domain doesn't have a lot of referring domains, the traffic probably won't be that high. But if they've got a ton of links and their DR is pretty high and their traffic is super low, then something's kind of wrong there, right? So I would be, at the minimum, that would put my evaluation of how much I would want to pay that domain for a link. That would lower my price for them in my mind. But yeah, so referring domains, DR, or the authority for whatever you're looking at. Traffic, make sure it makes sense. Of course, more traffic is good. Means they're actually ranking for stuff. And then, backlink profile. You want the backlinks to be, kind of relevant for whatever it is the site's about. Anything else?
I'm good.
Cool.
And then
Noman says the thing is called an accordion. What is this called? I can't remember what it's called. My brain's not working right now.
No?
Is it an accordion? I guess it could be.
It acts like one.
Yeah, you might be right. All right. Let's see. Let's see what Satish says over here.
That's a good question. I guess we can dive into it a little bit.
All right. What's a good way to effectively monitor keyword cannibalization? So for anyone that doesn't know, I'm guessing you probably do know, but keyword cannibalization is when you have two pages which are either purposefully or accidentally optimized for the same keywords. And so you start having problems with one page basically ranking for a keyword that the other one was supposed to rank for, or vice versa.
Right.
So how do you monitor keyword cannibalization, Nick?
So I would say it's not really something you monitor if you start off doing things properly with keyword research. Because part of that keyword research would include going into the SERPs or using a tool like Surfer SEO to find out, what SERPs overlap for these particular keywords. So if you start there and you make sure you do a good job there, you're not going to have cannibalization issues. But if you have a website, or maybe you just purchased a website with a lot of similar slugs going after the same SERPs or similar SERPs, and you realize that none of them are ranking, or one pops in, one pops out, there's other tools that you can use to monitor. For example, I think SE Ranking shows which URLs are conflicting or which ones are showing up and when. And if you see that, so that's a good way to monitor it, then you can go in and make adjustments based on what's going on in those SERPs.
Yeah, SE, like Nick said, if you're doing your keyword research beforehand, it should be a problem that you're kind of solving right at the beginning. But maybe you've got a huge site, maybe you've got a big team of people working on the site, and you're just accumulating hundreds or thousands of posts over the years or whatever. It's absolutely possible that, and it probably will happen at some point that you're going to start getting some cannibalization issues. And yeah, like Nick said, SE ranking, when you pull up your rankings for your keywords for a site, there's a little thing next to the keyword that tells you like what URL is ranking for that keyword. And if you're having any cannibalization issues, it'll show you multiple URLs basically. So SE ranking, I think does a pretty good job of it. I'm assuming that a lot of rank trackers kind of do the same thing. I've been on SE ranking for a while now, so I'm not really 100% sure about that.
I haven't jumped ship from SE ranking
Yeah.
really since I started using it, and I can't remember whether the other rank trackers, because it's probably been like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I think that I've been using SE ranking exclusively.
Yeah, SE ranking hasn't really given us any kind of issue.
Yeah.
I know this is kind of not a very good image of it, but this is like, it'll display your rankings over here. This would actually be like the numbers and the days that you're ranking for. And then like this would be your keyword right here. And this would be like the link right here. So you would just like hover right here and it would tell you, oh, this keyword is ranking on like multiple, maybe 3 URLs would have a little number 3 next to it.
Yeah.
So you can real easily see that. Are there any other ways to measure or to do cannibalization? I've just been
probably, but I mean, I haven't had to deal with it in a long time. And then, like I said, if you're doing keyword research properly and you're really keeping track of everything you're going after in Excel or Quip or Airtable or anything, whatever you use for organization, then auditing those lists too. The only way I can think of it is by doing it by hand. So start off with good keyword research, and you're gonna effectively, combat a lot of the issues you would face if you just start thinking. I guess it ties back into the last question, make sure that those keywords are individual SERPs, the Mumbai ones.
Do you know if there's any free rank trackers?
I think so, but I'm not sure which ones. We'd have to look it up.
Just to go back to SE ranking really quick in case you're interested in it. We don't have an affiliate link or anything, so even if you wanted to help us, you can't. But I guess we probably pay one of the bigger ones. I don't even know. But yeah, if you had a smaller site, I guess you could do this one. But I mean, you're going to use up 250 keywords pretty fast. So yeah, I guess, depending on where you're at in SEO, it might end up being a little bit expensive.
But it's also very important to track detailed SERPs like this, because having something like Ahrefs is obviously very important, but then tying in specifics is also gonna help you fine tune everything more readily.
Yeah, Ahrefs. Ahrefs is great. I love Ahrefs, but I feel like you really need to invest in a rank tracker as well. Ahrefs, it lags behind. You don't get to tell it exactly what keywords to monitor. So especially for like something that's kind of like a lower search volume, but it might be a super important keyword for you, but it might be, Ahrefs just doesn't have a lot of data on it yet, then Ahrefs just isn't going to show it, right? So you really would need a rank tracker to handle something like that. Kind of off the topic of cannibalization, but kind of 2 birds with 1 stone, right?
Oh, AccuRanker is free?
AccuRanker.
Let's show. A free trial at least.
14-day free trial. I just want to see what their pricing is.
Pretty pricey, really.
$99 a month. How many keywords?
For yearly.
Oh, you change your keywords up here. That's 99 a month.
Yeah, I would probably stick to SE ranking. But the 14-day free trial, you know, maybe it's got some interesting stuff.
Yes. So unless we're missing something, no man, it looks like it's just the free trial, but you'd end up having to pay for it after your 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
and yeah, it also seems a little bit
steep.
pricier.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably does pretty similar things. I don't really have any experience with AccuRanker. Might be a great tracker. All right, let's see. Let's go back
and
in.
I had a question.
Okay.
No, good question. Oops.
Does it make sense to purchase a social signal pack if the site is about a year or so old, or is it too late for it? So the question is basically, are social signals any good for your website or only at the beginning? You know, all a social signal is you're emulating, or social signals are basically, you know, likes, shares, comments, whatever on social media for a URL on your website, right? So if someone shares your URL on Facebook and then people are liking it and commenting it and someone else shares it or whatever, you know, these are all social signals. And, you know, they're absolutely good for your site at any point in time. If you just, you know, with link building, with SEO in general, you want to think about, you know, what's natural.
Right.
So is it natural for a website to only be talked about on social media at the beginning of its life?
No.
No. Right?
Not a good one, right?
Yeah. That would be very strange if, you know, unless I guess the company had a lot of like press and a lot of buzz at the beginning of its life. And so, yeah, it was being talked about and then it just died. But yeah, I can't really think of any case where it would be normal for a company to be talked about on social media in the beginning of its life and then not at all anymore.
Yeah, unless it just decays, right? Like you said, or it's a piece of viral content or something like that that then just slowly, you know, dissipates over time and things aren't interested. But then that's also going to resonate the same way in Google, right? So the consideration should be, let's say you're hammering the site with links, you know, you still show up in forums. You're creating chatter with social signals. So you always want people talking about your brand or your company and sharing information about it. That's going to register whenever it's crawled by Google crawlers. So social signals are something we include, you know, every month. So I would advise, if you're doing a heavy backlinking campaign of any kind, then social signals are going to be proper to mix in.
Yeah. Just to show you some stuff, like, so basically we include social signals on our pillow links pack. For people that aren't familiar with this thing, it's a pillow links pack is basically a pack of like kind of like foundational, like white hat type links, like directories, social profiles, web 2.0s, just stuff like that. And we include social signals in here because we kind of see it as this like, you know, additional form of diversification. Like it's an additional form of, you know, something you can do on the internet. It's not quite, it's kind of like a backlink, but not quite a backlink. But, you know, it just makes everything look real natural and normal.
Yeah. Imagine this, right? So a news site publishes whatever, you know, said president did on whatever day. If they did that and then that page got a ton of backlinks, but there was no social chatter, wouldn't that be kind of strange? I mean, when popularized content or popularized products begin to take, you know, hold, what happens is the consumers or the people that are sharing this type of content or on social media, and they are actively sharing. So it's almost like by omitting using social signals throughout the process, you're also omitting a factor of, making things look natural, especially if you're doing some heavy backlinking, because it just doesn't make a lot of sense to get a bunch of backlinks from hard to get, websites, etc. But then there's no chatter in forums, social profiles, etc. So yeah, keep using them.
Yeah, it's we do use them quite a bit for stuff that we're ranking, but it's also not like you know, I wouldn't get the impression that just buying a ton of social signals is gonna like rank your site. It's more of like I would consider it in like the pillowing or kind of like maintenance level for my link building strategy, right?
Yeah, unless you're like doing something, I guess, kind of wild, right? Like if you wanted to do something advanced where maybe you're sending like 5,000-10,000 backlinks to a site in 1 month, then you would want to increase the other natural type of things that should go alongside that. So we're talking about getting into very technical, high budget backlinking maneuvers, then yeah, you'd want to increase that alongside it as well. And there's no exact percentage, right? But they all come up together.
Yeah, and just to kind of expand on what Nick said, I don't know if he talked about it earlier. I kind of zoned out for a minute, but but so yeah, so if you're buying a high amount of links all at one time, right? Something that you kind of are you think might look kind of unnatural for the site, right? So a good way, like you said, would be to hedge against that by basically, doing some social signals, maybe even doing something like a press release, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So you're putting some stuff out on the internet that would justify your site getting these other links. So if a company has some big news, they're launching a new product, they're putting out a press release to talk about the launch of this product, and news companies are picking it up, and then website, other people read it in the news or whatever, and they start writing articles about it. It starts to make sense. The picture makes sense, and social signals can definitely be a part of that.
Tie the room together, so to speak.
Yeah. So yeah, back to your question, should they be used only in the beginning? Absolutely not. Just like any kind of other like pillow linking, something I would do like periodically throughout your link building. Like you saw on our product page, they're really cheap, or you can probably get them other places as well. They're never something that's going to cost you a ton of money. And yeah, just helps to kind of tie the whole room together. Let's see. As a beginner SEO agency, what should I do to attract clients? Nick?
Man, I remember those days. Oh. This actually jumps further than SEO. You have to think about marketing, from whatever standpoint. First, I'd say start with really analyzing where your budget's at when you start out. Don't think you can throw a Hail Mary and it's just going to work for you. When I first started, local SEO seemed to be the most obvious route. And I remember we tried everything. Tried getting emails and emailing. We even cold called. We did lump email, where you stick little objects inside of mail so that somebody feels something that's a little bit awkward and is more inclined to open that piece of physical mail. But think about your budget, and think about your budget in the form of money and time. And then you're going to have to start kind of experimenting with the type of maneuvers you want to make. I think email marketing is always a good place to start because you can decide how much time you want to spend on that. I wouldn't advise spamming or anything like that, scraping and spamming, but making sure to just do things slow and personalized, especially if you're an agency and you're trying to attract the right clients. It's such a broad thing, but if you know how to cold call, I would say that's probably the most effective way to get clients, but it's also the most difficult because you deal with nonstop failure as you're calling.
Well, me and Nick also, we actually both have a history in cold calling.
I have PTSD from it, so I won't.
I do too.
I won't even pick up the phone these days. It
was the worst job I ever had. I actually would tell people that it's the worst job I've ever had so much. I was actually kind of good at it. I think you were too.
Yeah. Top 10% of the company immediately.
I can force myself to be sociable, but for a lot of people, especially a lot of people that might be doing SEO, that kind of like the idea of working from home behind your computer and not really having to interact with people. If you're into SEO for those reasons, then cold calling might be a real pain for you. Something that's just like pulling your fingernails out.
Yeah, that's why I would say, email marketing is a good way to start, or even sending out actual mail if you want. But I think the open rates on that, you can't get data on it. It's more difficult. I would stick to email because you can spend time personalizing everything, sitting in your own head, kind of working things, thinking about what might work better. And then there's limitless information on, any of these, but especially email marketing.
So yeah, I can add a couple things to this.
We've got a tutorial for it, right? You wrote it?
Do I?
Email marketing.
I'm starting to
pitches.
lose track of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, email marketing, cold emailing.
Yeah,
we've got an article for cold emailing.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as just for, if you're new and you're doing local SEO and you're trying to get new clients, like Nick said, cold calling, or like sending mail, or even like showing up in person, you really like can't like underestimate like how strong these things can be, especially in this like, new digital age. But it's definitely not for everybody. And something that you're going to want to do regardless if you're doing that or not is, you're going to want to have some kind of like proof, whether that be like reviews or case studies. Like a case studies can go such a long way. So, in the beginning, you might not even have your first client yet, but hopefully you've ranked something, hopefully you're not just fresh out of a course and trying to get clients, and that might be you.
I'm willing to bet they don't, but yeah, go ahead.
So I'm going to say something that might be kind of controversial. So if that is you, if you haven't ranked anything, and if you're going after clients, I don't necessarily condone this, but faking fake reviews, fake case study, just fake proof that you can actually do what you're saying that you're doing, can work. Is it ethical? Absolutely not. We understand like you need to eat, you need to like put food on the table, but you also don't want to be like robbing people and like failing to deliver, right? But yeah, these things are extremely powerful, right? And another way you can go about this instead of faking them is to actually work for extremely cheap or to work for free in the beginning. If you don't have the resources to just do it on your own site. So you would still need to convince someone to let you do the work for them, right? And you would still have to actually succeed at it. But just getting like, case studies, reviews, anything that you can show people like, hey, this, check out what I did, or look at these happy people, or look, just that kind of thing is super powerful.
Yeah, focus on the design of your site as well. Make it inviting. You can always get testimonials from people etc., to kind of church it up, so to speak. So yeah, while unethical, people do it. It's rampant on the internet, so it's something you can consider. But
yeah, so
to not be the beginner agency that has no proof. I know that's the way it starts. I'm not gonna lie and say that I didn't start that way. I did. So, you know, I'm not gonna chastise you too much.
Can't tell you to do stuff that we didn't do, but it is unethical. But yeah, so my my kind of process would be get some kind of proof somehow, whether that be working for free or doing it on your own site or whatever, or potentially faking it, and then after that I would move on to you get it on your site and display these kind of things prominently, right? So you can show people them very easily, and then I would if it was me personally, I'd probably either be doing cold calling. I would look at the SERPs and for a particular niche or whatever, and I would just look at people that were at the bottom of page 1, maybe page 2, maybe even page 3, reach out to them, with a very personalized call, having already kind of looked at their site and seeing what's going on with it and basically what you want to do with it. If you don't want to call, I would send them emails. Again, very personal, no spam. And if you really want to kick it up, you could even include a little video for them, or you might want to ask them if they would accept a video first, or you could just go ahead and send them a video, basically audit of their site and what you want to do for them.
Yeah.
But again, then you're investing more time for people that basically might not even look at it, right? But it also is really going to make you stand apart from the for a local site with probably 10, 20 emails a week from other SEO people saying they're going to do it for $20 a month or whatever. So if you just come in right away and drop some value like that and show that you're serious and you've actually looked at them, you're not just spamming, can really help you out.
Yeah, don't ever forget the value of a follow-up email or phone call either. It's very rare that you get a, first call close type situation, but trying to have multiple plans for attack. But just for fun, because it's been just eating me up.
Wait, what? What's going on?
Go on, pick up.
Hello?
Hey, yeah, this is Nick Altimore with Sir Links-a-Lot. See, you're sniping the stuff. People want to know how to cold call.
Hi, hello.
Yeah, hi. This is Nick Altimore with Sir Links-a-Lot.
Oh, Sir Links-a-Lot, the 2 highly attractive SEO dudes I've seen online.
Anyhow, if you guys want to learn some sales stuff, I've got a whole lot of it under my belt specific to SEO, but don't ever forget the value of a pause. There's some sneaky stuff in there.
All right, let's move on. What do we got? Got some YouTube questions. What's your thoughts on EMDs for local? So EMDs are exact match domains, which is a domain name that has the exact keyword in the domain. So it would be something like bestdogtoys.com, right? So best dog toys is an exact keyword, an exact money keyword that you'd want to rank for. So what are your thoughts on using domains like this for local? So that would be like dogtoyshouston.com, right?
Sure.
So yeah, what do you think about using EMDs?
Well, you wrote the case study and released it yesterday, so go ahead and take it.
Yeah, we actually, I guess I'll go ahead and pull that up. All right, wait 1 second. Yeah, so I actually just released this case study yesterday. Let's get that off the screen. So basically, we did link building for a site over the period of about 4 months, and the site was an EMD, and yeah, we ranked the hell out of it. We got it to number 1 in 4 months. Started on page 6, and we got it to number 1. Was not a local site, but the moral of the story, the reason I'm showing you the case study is that EMDs are still, wildly useful for ranking anything. Doesn't matter what it is, local or not. EMDs can be great. If you need like more proof other than me saying it, you can just go to Google and type in basically any service and location and look at the first page of the SERPs.
If you're in the Austin area, I've had the same website
Austin
ranking
plumber
for years now, roundrockroofer.com. No effort, haven't touched it in years, and it's still there in the map pack.
So when you look at, so we're looking at like Austin plumber right now, just one SERP. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit better. So yeah, let's go ahead and look. Clark Kent plumbing, so he's got one keyword, not an EMD. Brad P plumbing. Austin plumbers, here we go right here. What's their
Not there.
Whatever. Got some big sites
to
here.
Steal those.
Clark Kent plumbing, Radiant plumbing, Angie's List, Home Advisor, Daniels Austin, more plumbing, Sand plumbing, your Austin community. So basically you can see that we actually saw no EMDs on the first page for this. In EMD for this SERP would actually be like austinplumbing.com or whatever, or something similar like that. But an exact match. So we didn't actually see one on page 1. We saw PMDs, which are partial match domains, which means, they just have like plumbing in the name, or this one down here had just Austin in the name. Yeah, and there's definitely an advantage to using PMDs over EMDs, and that is that they give you more room to expand, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so Daniels Austin, so they can go after a ton of Austin-based keywords that are not just plumbing, right? Or this Radiant plumbing, they could go after plumbing keywords in 50 different cities instead of just Austin, if you had the EMD for austinplumbing.com. So it basically gives you a lot of room more room for expansion and growth rather than kind of kneecapping you in a sense of going just after the EMD. So when would you actually want to use an EMD over a PMD, exact match, instead of a partial match?
If it's more of a sniper site, I guess, and you know exactly what you're going after and what you're targeting. If you're just going after plumbing in Austin and that's the only job you're going to do for the foreseeable future, then it makes sense to have an EMD.
Now, the problem with that is you don't really never know the future, right? Foreseeable future. I've definitely messed up myself, where I've went with like an EMD and it just didn't allow me to expand, and then I just had to, basically start a new website. But yeah, if you got a small budget.
Well, yeah, but granted, having said that, it's like, let's take danielsaustin.com, for example. He's all about plumbing, but, Daniels Austin, you could build subdomains to multiple different geographic areas, and I bet it wouldn't really give you an issue just because Austin is in the URL, in the main URL there.
Yeah, just a little bit,
It's just
it'll definitely be a little more because then you're going subdomains instead of just on the root or whatever, and you can do it.
You can, yeah. It's not ideal. And then you'd have to consider things like click-through rate. If somebody sees an Austin plumber show up in Georgia somewhere, then probably less likely they'd be interested in clicking on that.
Yeah. So, if I was using the situations I would use EMDs for local is if A, it was a super high competition niche, B, I truly had no plans of expanding, and I knew it for certain, which is hard to say. Or, C, if I had a small budget and I really needed to get this thing ranked, because using an EMD like we did on our case study, it was a very Ahrefs ranked it as hard keyword difficulty, And we're talking about 4K, 4,000 search volume per month. And what the EMD allowed us to do was to, if we scroll down to the bottom, you can see this is us at the top here. We've only got 99 referring domains. Number 2 has over 2,000 referring domains. So the EMD allowed us to basically beat all these other sites out, minus these couple low ones right here, with a pretty considerably less amount of links. So if my budget was small and it was competitive and I really needed to rank this thing, they can still be wildly.
And there's
successful.
.gov in this SERP too that it's beating out.
Yeah, these were .govs right here.
Yeah, which is wild, but definitely shows the power of an EMD.
All right, let's see what's next. So if EMDs are still valuable, what's the best way to rank them? So yeah, we just talked about how they are still valuable. They're still extremely useful and rank well. So yeah, what's the best way to rank an EMD,
Well,
Nick?
the beauty about an EMD is that when you consider branded anchors or naked anchors, you're getting keyword stuffing just naturally. And so if you're Austin Plumber, you can have 100 branded anchors saying Austin Plumber, and that's going to look natural. So you can get away with essentially keyword stuffing because it's your brand and your brand name. So whatever it is, whenever you're creating the foundational links or pillow linking, you're automatically going to be off to a good start because it'll be based around the SERP you're trying to attack as well. And since it is your URL, what would be seen as spammy, maybe if you're Daniel's Plumbing with 100 anchors to Austin Plumber, is going to be different than what Austin Plumber is resonating with that many anchors. Exact match.
Yeah, so what Nick said, I've just got it up here on the screen now. So your website's austinplumber.com. So if your anchor text was Austin Plumber, that would generally be considered a money keyword and something you'd want to be a little bit more careful with overdoing, right? You don't want to overdo it with money keywords because then your backlink profile looks unnatural and maybe Google slaps you down a bit because, it just doesn't look right. Your anchor text is over optimized. It's too good. But because it's basically it's your brand name, because it's your URL name, you can get away with using a lot more of this anchor text because it's literally the name of your company, right? And the same thing with using a URL anchor. URL anchors, it doesn't matter if it's your keyword or not, they're always seen as a very natural thing to get. But because your keyword is in the URL, it's almost like using a money anchor, right? So using branded anchors were to become money anchors, and then using URL anchors, you can really just use a ton of them without getting in any kind of trouble because you don't have to worry about it not looking natural. And so to go back to the case study that we just put out that we were looking at a minute ago, and I'll go ahead and I'll include a link to this. But yeah, you can scroll down, and so this was an EMD, and so you can look at the link orders we're putting in. Scroll a little faster. So here we go, month 1. You can see we're using branded anchor, URL anchor. This was a mix of URL, branded, and generic. So generally, if this was for a normal website that wasn't an EMD, this would be like a very natural month of building, right? You might not see a ton of movement out of it. It's just a very kind of safe month of building. But because it's an EMD, it's safe, but it's also fairly aggressive. Then you go down to our second month, branded, URL. So we're really taking advantage of the EMD here, right? We're really just, hitting it with a ton of relevance for the main keyword. We go down to the third month. We kind of switch things up a bit on this month, but you can still use a lot of URLs and brandeds.
And don't forget generics too. That's like, website, site here,
Yeah.
click here, etc.
Yeah, you still need to make things look natural. Like Nick was saying, so include some generics in there. And the next month we even go a little bit further. You see we use this kind of low authority, all these 10 to 50 RD niche edits. We use these to hit up generic anchors a bunch of times to just get things looking a little more natural, even though branded and URL anchors are super safe. You still need your generic stuff. But yeah, you can see with all of our heavy hitter links, we're using money anchors, branded anchors, URL anchors, branded variations, whatever. And yeah, that's how we ranked this thing, to number 1 in 4 months. Yeah, that's how you take advantage of it.
Yeah, I would advise just glancing over this case study and then, doing things pretty much normal. Always want to look natural, but it helps stuff a little bit more when your URL is the target.
Are expired domain 301s to new domains still working? And is relevancy important, or can you 301 any expired domain to a new domain regardless of niche?
Yeah, so expired domains, and I haven't 301'd an expired domain to one of my assets in a long time. But based on, I'm trying to think of the last time I saw somebody do it, there was a large gap in between when they 301'd it and when you start to see things resonate in the SERPs. Mind you, a lot of content was going on that site at the same time. What I would advise, just based on my experience, is that you take that domain that you want to 301 and you put some content on it. And you get it resonating in the SERPs just barely, just so that it is indexed, it is alive, it's seen as having some sort of value, and then 301ing the domain. Now, I would always advise being pretty relevant with your 301. Granted, in certain niches, you can get away with being more further away from what your target's supposed to be. And then in certain geographic areas as well.
What niches could that be?
I mean, casino, maybe payday loans, or stuff that gets more spammy, or a lot of foreign niches where maybe Google algo isn't as sophisticated as it is for the English language. You could get away with stuff too. But since we like to consider longevity here at Sir Links a lot, I would preach get something closer to what you're trying to rank for. But if you're also, building a general review site or something like that, maybe look for something that went viral at some point in time that, I've had success with even just like old joke websites or something that had tons of content, tons of shares, etc., that you could repurpose for something that's more general. But even still, that's still fairly niche down to viral content and reviews, I guess. But yeah, I would stick to more relevance, and I would get it indexed before 301ing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I really have much to add to that. So I'll just review it. Absolutely, 301ing expired domains to new domains still works. It's just a little bit more hit or miss. We don't generally do it. We prefer to use an aged domain instead of an expired, but they definitely can still work. But if you are going to do it, like Nick said, give it some time to actually index and start, I would just, you want it to look a little bit healthy, a little bit more natural. Just let it kind of get the juices flowing first.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then I was just going to say, and yeah, I feel like relevancy with 301s has probably gotten a little bit more important over time.
And even then, it's not a guarantee that it's going to help you out immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
301s are kind of topsy-turvy.
Yeah, 301s can kind of be hit or miss. So you basically don't want to do anything that would increase your chances of it being a miss even more, right? So if it's first of all, so using expired could be a little bit more of a miss. And then, being not relevant will really increase the chances of it being more of a miss. If you are going to use an expired, I would say to definitely make sure it's relevant, as close to the relevance as you can possibly get, even. Unless, of course, like Nick said, you're doing foreign or you're working in a niche that is super spammy and Google kind of just lets it fly in that niche, something like casino.
Yeah, and furthermore, since we're talking about expired domains, you can take it further and put it into archive.org and then go back through the history of what this domain has been, possibly see if its last use was as a crappy PBN, something along those lines. And if so, then you're going to want to spend more time trying to get it indexed and trusted in Google's eyes. That was one thing I was just thinking about. And then another, in regards to expired domains and 301s.
So yeah, you could, what's website I can put in here? Looks like someone's been searching for ammo. Anyway, you could just do like, dog toys. I have the stupidest ideas. Yeah, you just hit it in the Wayback Machine, and then you can go back to, so basically you can see like what the site looks like now, dogtoys.com. Basically you'll see that it's probably a site about dog toys. Then you can go back in time and you can kind of click around. So maybe in 2007, you can see the snapshot on a particular date. What's it used for? Is it a PBN or whatever?
You can go and show them. For somebody that's never seen it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so, we're pulling it up, what this website looks like on, this exact date in 2007 or 2009, whatever it was. This is what dogtoys.com looked like way back then. So you would just skip around the history and just make sure it wasn't used for anything bad, Yeah. But we do this with a lot more than just expired domains. You want to be doing this for any kind of domain, really.
Yeah, and then just to kind of help conceptualize what a 301 is supposed to be. A 301 is essentially a company, so a website has purchased another website. So picture it like a company has overtook this other company, and now they're making it part of their business model. So you want to make that look as natural as possible. Typically, it's going to be something that's got some health, it's in the same niche, etc. So the more natural you try and imagine that being, the higher ability you're going to have to get positive influx in the SERPs with a 301.
Do you have anything else to add to that one?
No.
Okay.
It's add on to it. So.
And then, we've already answered this other question, but he had also asked, if I use an age domain, does relevancy matter? We already answered that. Yes.
Yeah.
With 301s, I would expired, aged, whatever. I'd want it to be as relevant as possible. You might be able to get away with less, especially if your niche is something different. But just as a rule of thumb, I would always try to be pretty relevant for 301s right now.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take one more question.
Yeah, that's good.
And then we're going to get out of here.
Back to work.
So since you spoke about auditing a site for pitching, attracting new clients, is there a free tool that will quickly throw up a decent audit? Maybe not thorough, but enough to bait them in.
Ooh, I mean, you could always pull a lot of like Ahrefs has an audit report. And,
Free tool.
Oh yeah, and free.
The best free
You
tool is your
going,
brain.
yeah, your brain, I guess.
Um, yeah. So
Showing a client that you ranked a website and here it is number one. If somehow they're able to contact that client, I guess could work. I don't know of anything completely free other than
so the
looking
best
through the
the
SERPs.
best yeah, exactly. So the best free tool is your brain and google.com, right? So
Over here.
Austin Plummer. Yeah, I'll move it over. So if we go back to Austin Plummer, um, yeah. So basically, you're maybe you want to target some Austin plumbers and try to find a new client. I would go down and find people that are at the bottom of page one, maybe page two or page three, and you can actually just pull up their website, check it out, and check out their on page. You can do a quick on page audit so fast. So you can look at it right here. Do they have their main keywords in the title? Do they have their main keywords in the domain name or URL? Do they have keywords in their meta? Do they have keywords in their H1? Do a find on the page? Do they have, Austin Plumber, on the page or whatever? Do they actually not have Austin
Looks like they
Plumber?
don't. Yeah,
Wow.
just plumbing.
So, I can't believe that. Austin. Wow. So, so yeah, I did a quick find, and these guys don't have Austin Plumber or Austin Plumbing on the page they're ranking for Austin Plumber on. And I believe Daniel's Austin, they're ranked 6 organic. So
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
well,
you
even
like
still, it's like,
you could literally right now reach out to this company, do a quick on-page audit of them, let them know they don't even have their main keyword on their ranking page, and offer to sell them an on-page fix basically, for cheap. And then from there, you can upsell them on link building, ranking other keywords, whatever. That kind of tied into someone else's question from earlier on attracting new clients. You can always start with a small service, get your foot in the door, provide value, provide results with a small fix to something that's cheap and quick. And then,
yeah.
they start to trust you. Then you can work in some higher dollar things like link building, right?
Yeah. And other things that are easy to do when you're trying to target people on this SERP is go up to whoever is winning, take down some check marks on what kind of stuff they're excelling in, what kind of pages they have, what's commonality. You can even use site operators, or I mean search operators like site colon, and then put all these in and see how many pages are indexed in Google for each one. But the more data that you have on this company's niche, the more they're going to think that you're an authority on this. So, you're doing things for free now. Now, let's not forget that you can get 7-day free trials to a lot of these things, but ignoring that, this is a great way to start, is just using your eye and being keen on understanding the differences between the top ranking assets and the ones that are not. Okay, so $7, not quite free. But I think Majestic might have a free one, or SEM Rush. And either way, you get the free one, then you get yourself one client, and then you can afford the tools next time.
I don't want to be too I don't want to get too immoral or whatever again, but there are cheap ways that you can use Ahrefs. So maybe that's the 7-day free trial or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
So yeah, but do you know any link building tool or link like backlink or off-page audit tools that are free? That's like not Search Console, I guess, which you wouldn't have access to.
No. Mm-mm. And then it's like, if it's free, I don't imagine, like, I don't understand how they would make something like that that's free, because it's dynamic. It's got to be running bots all day long, crawling data. If it was free, then I just don't see how it would be a piece of software that or app that's going to give you clean data.
Yeah, I can't really think of any like free, off-page auditing software. Uh, Ahrefs, in my opinion, is like worth its weight in gold. If I had one tool that I was going to spend money on, it would be Ahrefs, without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
No
It's
questions
the one we
asked,
use every
Ahrefs.
day.
But yeah, maybe you can't afford it. Maybe, you ran out your 7-day, your free trial or whatever, and you don't have any other ways that you can get access to Ahrefs. You might just have to stick to something else, like we mentioned before, doing like on-page audits.
Another one
Something like that.
that's not quite free, but that's really good is Keywords Everywhere, and it's pretty much free, honestly. I mean, $10 has lasted
They do a site audit?
forever. No, but you'd be able to go in and then effectively tell somebody other keywords that they could target, even if they are on page one. I was just trying to think of other stuff that you could do if you're just kind of running through things. And you could tell them the type of keywords that you would go after. So if you're building the whole picture, it's like, well, here's where you're lagging here in comparison to your competitors, and then here's also what I'd be able to do for you in aspects to, like, I've already, run the information. It's not quite free, but, together for, I think, the lowest amount of credits you can buy for
they're super cheap.
So $17 between this and Ahrefs trial. And you'd be able to make some pretty solid data-driven information packets for these clients.
I actually just
clients.
re-upped with another $10.
How long did it last? Months.
A pretty long time, especially since I haven't been doing as much keyword research in the past year. It actually lasted me a really long time. But yeah, you could definitely use Keywords Everywhere to figure out some stuff that they're that they're not ranking for. So you basically type in Austin plumber. Let me turn Keywords Everywhere on. Let's do it again. So then, it's showing us search volume up here, cost per click, and then it's going in, it's giving me some related keywords down here, more kind of keywords that might be related over here, and then, just their search volumes and that kind of stuff. So this could just be kind of a quicker way to uncover some keywords so that you could take, the site we were looking at earlier, Daniel Austin. You could say, well, hey, are they ranking for this Austin's best plumbing or whatever? So then you could find maybe a couple keywords they're not on page one for and say, you guys aren't ranking for this. You're missing X amount of traffic.
Man, it's been a while since I've seen all this stuff, because now a lot of stuff is just coming back to me, like all the gimmicks you tried, tying into that other question as well about attracting new clients. But, one good way, especially if you don't have proof, and one way that is not negligent towards your client, in my opinion, is find a very long tail or, a long tail keyword in their niche and tell them you'll rank them for it. A lot of times with the right website and good content, you can rank stuff like that overnight. Just check out who's the sexiest man in digital marketing, done in 2 seconds.
So he's clarified the question, and he says he's just talking about on page.
Yeah, manually, I guess.
Does Mozbar have an on page tool?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure about that, to be honest with you. For on page, I would pretty much.
Frog?
Well, Screaming Frog, you run into the URL limit. So basically, after you scan even one website, if it's a decent size, you're gonna end up having to pay. Was Screaming Frog a one-time pay?
Can't remember.
Screaming Frog, I can't remember. Where is it? Pricing. Okay, so yeah, it looks like about $150 for a year.
Well, what do you get out of the free side, though? Yeah, it'll do
Well, it does some stuff, but yeah, 500 URLs. So, like even one website. So let's check
well, not
out.
local though.
You'd be surprised with like the amount of so let's just use the one that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Daniels, Austin. Um, so we can see, his site alone has 102 URLs that are indexed on Google. So, that would be 102 of your 500 URLs that you're using up in one crawl already. But yeah, I mean, Screaming Frog's a very like highly it's a highly recommended product. We don't really use it a ton because we just don't really need to that much. Since we're mainly doing link building these days.
Well, we use Surfer too, I think, for on page.
Yeah, it's not something we use a ton, but I know it is very highly recommended. And and that's $150 for a year could end up being, not that bad. So that's like what, $10 a month. Hopefully that doesn't break the bank too much. Hopefully you could be able to afford that. Yeah, could be an option for you.
Yeah, I won't do 10 websites a day though.
But yeah, I mean, if you're really, the paid version would.
Yeah, paid version would. I was just reading his question.
Yeah, and if you find anything, man, go ahead and let us know. But yeah, if money is really an issue, I think I would just stick to analyzing the cert myself. I feel like it's really not something that takes too long. And you could even just not do like a full analysis. You could even just go in and find a couple like pain points, like that one site. It's like, yeah, dude, you don't have your main keyword on your ranking page.
Yeah.
And that's something I found after looking at your site for literally 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So like imagine what else you don't have.
Yeah, right. You could use something like Loom, go ahead and get screen share, maybe even introduce yourself, etc. It's very personal. That's going to help increase that somebody would kind of trust you versus something like an email. And then you can actually run them through everything that's going on with their site, and they can visualize it, so it doesn't sound like, alien jargon.
Yep. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Don't see any more questions. That was supposed to be our last question anyway.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah. Thanks for coming out to the live stream once again and asking your questions. Hopefully we helped in some way to make your lives easier.
Yeah, at least via SEO standards.
Yeah, we're still alive. Nick does not have COVID. He has not infected me, so we're good to go. Yeah, do we have any news or anything?
The case study, I mean, it's really, Chris did some solid work typing that thing up and making it not only informative in aspects to link building, but also just, it's got a lot of small random tidbits of information that are going to help even seasoned SEOs. So get in there and check that out. That's probably some of the biggest news that I would say is come out from us in quite some time.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a little video to kind of walk the group through it a little bit more. But honestly, the stuff that we put in here is like is just our thought process of what we're doing when we're building links to sites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really walks you through exactly what we were thinking, exactly why we were building certain types of links, exactly why we're using certain types of anchor text, even the budget for each month. I don't read a lot of link building case studies, but I feel like I'd be hard to find one that is this.
For backlinking especially, it's very detailed, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I'll do a little bit of a video, kind of walking people through it a little bit more. But yeah, check it out if you haven't already.
Cool. All right, well, we'll see you guys next week, Wednesday noon Central US time per usual. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and then keep updated with everything that we're doing.
Yep. All right, later, guys.